Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and we have another 2025-2026 season prediction video, but instead of me yapping about my personal predictions, I flipped it. I made a Google form, and we're going to be reacting to your awards predictions for this upcoming season. I posted this on my Twitter as well as my Instagram. We got over 1,000 responses. Here's the Google form, your 2025 awards ballots, but there's a twist. I decided to take out the heavy favorites. I didn't just want it for the Hart to be easily McDavid 1, McKinnon 2, Kucherov 3. For the Norris, obviously McCarr and Hughes would run away in terms of the top 2 votes. So we did the 9 major awards, but we took out the decent favorites, so we have some intrigue. And when looking at this, I'm blind reacting to these because Babiak thankfully cooked up the graphics, and we are going to be all reacting to see who you guys are liking in terms of more dark horse picks. I can't wait to see the Norris with the top 2 dogs kind of taken out. So yeah, let's get into it, and we're going to start off with the general manager of the year. And for this, there was 2 guys that were not on the ballot, that being Bill Zito, who's the heavy favorite after being able to re-sign everybody. He's plus 300 or something like that, as well as Eric Tulsky after bringing in Nikolai Ehlers. He's plus 550. So those 2 were not on it. Let's get into it. Let's react. Kent Hughes with a blowout win. Good Lord, 3x more than the next closest guy. Darsh Eiserman. So let's start with Ken Hughes. Fantastic offseason. Bringing in Noah Dobson, getting Zach Bolduc for cheap. The problem is, in a weird way, because the Montreal Canadiens made the playoffs last year, instead of missing by 4 to 5 points and then taking that jump into the playoffs, I'm not sure he should be such a heavy favorite. Again, this award in part either goes to somebody that's in the conference finals, not saying the Montreal Canadiens have absolutely 0 chance at that, or a team that goes from a non-playoff team to a playoff team. So that's a little bit surprising to see him that high. Again, he might end up having the best overall 12 months, but I'm just saying that's how they usually vote on this. Same thing goes for Matthew Darsh, so I'm not being biased. I think that he's done amazing work, but he ain't gonna have a shot when the Islanders are an 82-point team at the end of the season. Jim Nill winning it for a 3rd straight time would be kind of insane, especially if he doesn't address the right side of his defense. I don't see that quite happening. Steve Yzerman at 6.4%. I can maybe see the vision there if they finally make the playoffs, as well as John Gibson really hitting the ground running and maybe even getting some Vezina votes. So that one I think makes some sense. Brad Treliving, after basically telling Mitch Marner we don't want to re-sign you and instead replacing him with depth if they make the Eastern Conference Finals, I think that is a very, very good pick. I'm surprised not to see Kelly McCrimmon on this after bringing in Mitch Marner. If they make the conference finals, because again, the Gregory gets voted on for some goddamn reason after the 2nd round of the playoffs, even though it's technically a regular season award. So yeah, not saying Ken Hughes has no chance, not saying Matthew Darsh has no chance. Just a little bit surprising right out of the gate. Next up, the Calder. No Ivan Demidov, obviously. Zane Parekh, a pretty healthy 1st place. And then there's 2.3% separating 2nd all the way down to 5th. Jeez. Zane Parekh, I think I might have as a finalist. It's going to be tough because, again, Rasmus Anderson, if Anderson gets traded tomorrow, I'm 100% with you guys. He should be plus 600, plus 700 if he's on that top power play. There's just so much uncertainty, and Calgary's probably going to be an ass team offensively. Nikishin's a total wild card, could be a beast. Misa, I guess I doubted Celebrini in his rookie year, and he was so good. Not saying Misa's a Celebrini kind of talent. It's just if he's stuck on that 2nd line, I guess he'd be playing with Will Smith, but he might not get top power play time either. So that's a little bit interesting. Snuggerud, if he plays with Robert Thomas, I'm 100% with you on that. He could go for 25 and 25, 30 and 30. And then Zeev Boyum as well. If you guys have paid attention to my channel the past 2 to 3 months, my dark horse guy is Sam Renzel for the Chicago Blackhawks. I think that he's going to play a huge role for them. He might not have the best plus minus or gaudy stats, but I think he can be a 30 to 35 point defenseman and potentially be a finalist. Ivan Demidov is the clear pick right now. Do not get me wrong. Selke. Nick Suzuki. You guys love Montreal. I guess I just have a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans. Yeah, I think Nico Hischier is, besides Barkov, who is obviously not in this, is the biggest favorite just because he almost beat Patrice Bergeron in 2023. I feel like they've tried to anoint him as the next great defensive center in the NHL. But yeah, if Suzuki has a monster season, Sam Reinhart's tough. He should have won it last year, if we're going to be honest, but he's a winger and he plays with Alexander Barkov. Ty is always going to go to Alexander Barkov at this stage. And then I like the Jarvis respect, definitely. I think Aho might get a little bit more love just because he's the center. And Austin Matthews is definitely possible. I think, what was his highest finish? 2024 or 2022? I think he had a 5th or 6th place finish, but I'm not sure they'll ever give him the full respect defensively how good he can be. Defensively, yeah, I think Suzuki and Hisha are a clear 1-2 for me outside of Barkov, just because they have been gaining, although they are young and the Selke is usually won by an older guy, they have been stacking elite defensive seasons and also have, as dumb as it is to say, the offense to win the Selke trophy, because that is the unwritten rule of the offense. It's the best 70-plus point center that also is very good defensively, which sucks, but that is the nature of the award. The Norris trophy. Damn, Rasmus Andersson is high. Yeah, it really just comes down. If Buffalo's a playoff team, I can agree with you guys that he's probably the favorite just because his offensive ceiling is so high. You could go for 85, 90 points, but I would just not have that faith in Buffalo around him in terms of it. I think Adam Fox is clearly my pick right now in terms of the non-Werenski and Hughes guys. We've talked about that a lot. We got him at 35-1. Now he's at 17-1. But yeah, Werenski is the second betting favorite, I believe, right now, or the betting favorite among this group. Obviously, the top two are not here. So that's interesting that you guys also don't think that he's going to replicate like an 80-point season. That would just be crazy. Lane Hudson definitely has the offensive firepower to get to 75, 80 points. Do I think that he's, one, going to have the defensive numbers, and two, is because, again, with some of these awards, you got to like earn it over a couple of seasons, gain that reputation. I'm not so certain. Miro Heiskanen down at 8.2%. I don't know if you would be in my top 8 just because the offense isn't there, especially with Thomas Harley kind of taking over as that top offensive defenseman. But yeah, he's definitely a top 8 defenseman in the NHL. It's going to be interesting. I forget who else. Josh Morrissey. I don't think that he's going to be in Norris discussions. Well, Evan Bouchard would definitely crack my top 5 just because the offense is definitely here. But yeah, surprised that Rasmus Dahlin's so high and Lane Hudson is all the way at 11.5%, just barely behind an Adam Fox and Zach Werenski. I love Lane Hudson though, and he should get an absolute massive bag. At the Jack Adams we were going through. Montreal, good Lord. Again, with Montreal, the Jack Adams usually goes to a coach that his team missed the playoffs the prior year and then they take a giant leap. They could take a leap, but they were a playoff team last year. So that's just where I have this reservation with Montreal in terms of awards. Again, I still really like their core. They have one of the best rebuilds cooking in hockey right now. But yeah, what it would take for St. Louis, although I think that they are going to improve in terms of their underlying numbers enough where you could win a Jack Adams, the point total just matters so much. Like Quenneville, I think, is more likely to win the Jack Adams, although that'd be a pretty bad look for the NHL, to win it just because the Anaheim Ducks weren't a playoff team last year. If they can somehow jump into a playoff team, a playoff spot, that's definitely possible. Andre Tourny, I think, should definitely be on this. And Mike Sullivan's also an example of that coming in, especially with that New York Rangers team if he goes for 100 points. But Andre Tourny, 89 points, a team that might explode and finally make the playoffs after a deep rebuild. I'm surprised he didn't crack the top 5. Rod Brindamore, I do think, is a decent shout out, and I think he's like 45-1 right now, just because Carolina easily could put up 115 points and win the President's Trophy. And they actually only had like 98 points last year. They really weren't that much of a wagon, but adding Nikolai Ehlers, adding Nikishin, they could run away with the President's Trophy. And I would not be too much surprised. Jim Montgomery, similarly to Martin St. Louis, I thought he definitely, was he even a finalist last year? He definitely should have been in talks for the Jack Adams last year. The St. Louis Blues were a 96, 97-point team last year. Like, are they going to be a 106-point team to win the Jack Adams? That's where I'm a little bit surprised by this. Although I think that these two guys are very, very good coaches. Next up, the Vezina Trophy. Jake Ottinger, I'm not going to disagree with you guys on this one. Top 7 goalie in the NHL on a team that easily should be a mid-hundreds point team. And he's had seasons where he's played 60 games and put up like a 919. Dustin Wolf, I'm yet again kind of low on Calgary. Shocker if you've been watching me for a while. He has the potential to be like carry them. He got Hart votes, I think, last year. But I just don't see him replicating completely the success that he had last season. Ullmark is a very good dark horse. He's 50-1 right now, according to FanDuel. That is insane for a guy that has been as consistent year over year as he's been. Thatcher Demko, and again, with this Vezina Trophy, no Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, Shesterkin. I feel like that kind of goes without saying. But yeah, Demko, in terms of an underdog dark horse, considering what he did in 2024, I would not bet it, but it's possible. In terms of just pure talent, when healthy, he's up there. Bobrovsky, yeah, I get you guys throwing that in just because Florida, like Carolina, could easily run away with the President's Trophy, and he could be a huge reason why. I just don't see them like working him to play 55, 60 games if they're safely in a playoff spot. But I think that this was a pretty good job by you guys, outside of maybe Dustin Wolf. The Rocket, Richard. With this, there was no Matthews, Draisaitl, and Kaprizov. McDavid number 1 is interesting. I think I probably agree. I don't know if I would have him and Pasta like so far ahead of the pack. The thing with McDavid is like he decided to shoot, and they had the amazing power play in 2023. He scored 64 goals. Last 2 years, I think he's been below half a goal per game. So that's definitely interesting. Pasternak is a clear top 2 for this, considering the guy has 50 goal seasons, has won the Rocket Richard as well in 2020. But yeah, Tage Thompson, would he be my third? I think I'd maybe go with Rantanen for my third, just because it's more safer in terms of the teammates around him. Jason Robertson, in my opinion, is an underdog pick. I had him leading the Dallas Stars in that prediction video. Kyle Connor's a decent shout. Has just been a consistent 40-ish goal guy. We're going to go through the rest of the results, but I feel like Jake Gensel's a decent like dark horse for this that just consistently gives you 40 goals. Maybe he just gets fed more next season. But yeah, Pasternak and McDavid, when you're taking out the top 3 goal scorers in the NHL, Kaprizov, Matthews, and Draisaitl, that does make sense just because we've seen McDavid and Pasternak have 60 goal seasons. Meanwhile, Thompson's high is like 47. Mikko Rantanen did hit 55, I think, one season, but that was with McKinnon. Jesus. But yeah, this is a pretty solid job by y'all. Art Ross, Caprice. I pushed Kaprizov so hard and you guys took it. I mean, like, I'm not as high as on Kaprizov this season. I understand for the Art Ross, if he is healthy, the problem is the dude just has consistently missed games year over year. It wasn't just last year where he played 41 games. I think he's played 81 in a season and 75, and that's like his most in an 82-game year. But yeah, if you told me Kaprizov plays 82 games, I think he's going for like 110 points. He's maybe the only guy outside of Pasternak that like could get to like 115 potentially. Mitch Marner and Eichel definitely make a lot of sense. That's going to be an insane duo. I'm not sure Marner will jump from 102 going from Matthews to Eichel. I'm a little bit, but I think he's still going to be like 100. Hughes, yeah, similarly to Kaprizov, just not healthy enough. If he is healthy, he could definitely be in the mix. But yeah, the Art Ross is just that tough one where like there's not a lot of underdog guys that come out of nowhere and put up 115-point seasons. Probably going to be McDavid, McKinnon, or Kucherov, or Draisaitl was not counted in this as well. And then lastly, the Hart Trophy. If you guys have Kaprizov number 1 for the Art Ross, the Hart Trophies, no McDavid, Kucherov, and McKinnon. Wow, Kaprizov again, very high. Again, Kaprizov was my Hart pick or my Hart runner-up to McDavid last season. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. Almost 3 times more than Leon Draisaitl. I'm like speechless right now. Yeah, it's a contract year. He needs to ball out. Definitely could happen, but I'd have him like 18%. I'd bump Draisaitl up to like 15. Matthews, I'd have in that range as well. Pasternak and Hughes, I do like the boldness on that because if they drag their teams, especially Pasternak, to a playoff spot, it'll be largely because of those two. Like if Quinn Hughes stayed healthy last year, he might have been my third place Hart guy. Like he was so fucking good last year, and the Canucks around him were a total tire fire, and yet still they had like 96 points. So, or not 96, like 92 or 93. So I do like those kind of dark horse picks. Now we're going to go through the actual responses to see like the 6 through 15. Let's pull it up. All right. Who else was in this? Alexander Barkov, 1.8%. Yeah, I just don't think that he has the offense to potentially win a Hart Trophy. Jack Eichel, 6.3. He's kind of a dark horse for me. I think it's possible alongside Mitch Marner if they win the Pacific Division by a lot. Mikko Rantanen, I have Jason Robertson scoring more points. I don't really believe that. Mitch Marner, possible, I guess, if he wins the Art Ross, but unlikely. Jack Hughes, yeah, again, it just comes down to health. Cale Makar, 4.3. If McKinnon, God forbid, got hurt, Cale Makar is definitely a solid shout for like a Hart sleeper. Hellebuck, I think, is like 6th or 7th in the odds right now. But yeah, winning back-to-back Harts as a goalie would be so goddamn hard to do. Art Ross, any other interesting picks? Mikko Rantanen's at 5.6. I don't know if I can see that. He's never been, I mean, he put up a lot of points in Colorado, but it's not like he's some legendary playmaker. Panarin all the way down at 0.9%. That's a little bit surprising for a guy that had 120 points a season or 2 seasons ago. Nick Suzuki at 4.7. Jeez. The Montreal love is out of control. I love Nick Suzuki. He could maybe hit 100 points, but 110, I don't know. And yeah, Austin Matthews, all that. Rocket Richard. Who's that little sliver right there? Panarin, yeah, he scored 49 in the season. I don't see him touching that again. McKinnon is a decent sleeper. He had 50 goals, 51 goals 2 seasons ago. Braden Point. Yeah, Braden Point and Gensel are two guys. Ovechkin getting like 2.5% of the vote. It's funny. Reinhart has a 57-goal season. Not sure he's going to replicate that. Zach Hyman as a Darkhorse sleeper playing alongside McDavid. Gensel might be like my real long shot, like 80-1 or something like that, just because he has been so consistent. And even this year, the Rocket Richard winner only had 52 goals or 51 goals. It was Draisaitl, and then even second place only had 45. So yeah, the Rocket Richard, as long as I think that Matthews is going to stay healthy, but if Matthews is not healthy, it's anybody's race, really. Norris Trophy, damn, this is really evenly distributed. We saw our top 5. Okay, I guess Bouchard was what, 6? Oh, Bouchard was tied with Jake Sanderson. That's interesting. I'd have Sanderson maybe as my 6th or 7th pick as well. Thomas Harley. McAvoy, again, if he's healthy, if Lindholm's healthy, that's a decent shout. Jacob Slavin's never winning a Norris Trophy. Let's just call a spade a spade. He is not winning one with the offense that he puts up. Not saying it's fair, but it just ain't happening. The Vezina Trophy. This is pretty evenly distributed as well. Gustafsson at 5.2%. He was like on my top 5 ballot last year. Linus Olmar, Bobrovsky, Binnington getting 21 votes. I don't know about that. Hoffer will probably play a decent amount of games. Stolar, same thing. I just don't see him getting to like 50 to 55 games to even be considered for the Vezina Trophy. Demko. Blackwood's a solid dark horse. I don't think that he's as talented enough to win a Vezina, but the team could be good enough. Logan Thompson, possible. UC Saros. Jacob Markstrom, 33. I think Jake Allen's going to play a decent amount of games. Ilya Sorokin getting 51 votes, 5.1%. He definitely has the talent to do so. He's been a runner-up before and had another 925 season on top of that. Calder. Who else was in the mix for the Calder? Let's see this. Matthew Schaefer, 7.6%. It's possible just because like the Islanders defense core is so bad. Like there's a reality where he might be like the number 2 defenseman by like Christmas and playing the top power play. So in terms of an opportunity, that's a decent shout. Askarov, he'll probably only play like 40-ish games, and San Jose's going to stink. Koivinen's a decent sleeper, just because if he somehow plays with like Malkin or Crosby, that could be special. Savoy and Howard. Oh, Savoy over Howard. I think that the odds actually have Howard over Savoy, and then Shabanov. Point per game in Russia last season. Rinzel at 6.5. I guess he was behind Schaefer, so he was number 7. Invest in Rinzel. 50-1. And then Ryan Leonard at 6.5%. Yeah, with Leonard, it really just depends what lines he's on in Washington. If he's on the 3rd line, he doesn't stand a chance. If he's in that top 6, could potentially put up 50, maybe 55 points. Selke and the other guys. Jack Eichel at 5%. I would have expected Jack Eichel to be higher than Seth Jarvis just because he's a prominent defensive center. Sorelli, yeah, the offense unfortunately just won't be there for him to win. Marner, Kopitar, that'd be funny if you won a Selke at 39 years old, potentially his final season. Eriksson Ek, I don't really see happening. Sadly, Aho at 3.9%. The Adams, there's a bunch of different coaches. Huska, Torney down. I think Torney should be at like 12%. I think that's not saying he's an amazing coach, but just having the roster that should take a step. Marco Sturm is a solid shout as well. I'm higher on Boston the most. Adam Foote, new coach. Yeah, they love to give it to the new coaches, man. Paul Maurice, he'd have to have like 125 points to win the Jack Adams, if we're going to be honest. Then lastly, we have the Jim Gregory. Kent Hughes just ran away with it. Jim Nill for the 3-peat in 2nd. And my boy Matthew Darsh, some other guys. Bill Armstrong, I think that he should have got more of a vote, bringing in J.J. Peterka. I think if Utah makes the playoffs, he's definitely going to at least get some consideration, maybe a finalist. Ken Holland! Ken Holland at 45 votes, 4.5%. They were a 105-point team last year, man. I get if they like win a playoff series, I guess that's good enough reason to give him one after 4 straight years of Rob Blake losing in the first round. And if they make the Western Conference Finals, possibly. But in terms of if this was actually a proper regular season award instead of whoever makes the conference finals, whoever's the best general manager, he should not be considered for it, most likely. Verbeek at 2.4. I didn't love the Granlund and Kreider moves, but if they take a big step, I could see him getting some respect. Briere, if Zegras hits the ground running. Brisebois, if they finally get over Florida, it could happen. And then McCrimmon. I'm surprised McCrimmon wasn't in the top 5. Bringing in Mitch Marner in Vegas is definitely primed to potentially make a Western Conference Finals and but yet again, hopefully beat the Edmonton Oilers after losing to them last season. So yeah, definitely some interesting results. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about these? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? They were solidly different than like the betting lines or something like that. So I was quite surprised making this video. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this? What other follower polls do you want me to kind of do on different topics? I definitely got some ideas. We're going to repeat some from last season. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.